Welcome to Slaughterhouse Stories. I hope you enjoy the story I have for you tonight. Clown in the woods. Where should we play? The park? Asked Ben. Ben was my cousin, and my sister Olivia was also with us. She loved playing with dolls, especially her collection of dream mermaid dolls. Of course, this wasn't suitable for all of us, so we all had to meet each other halfway, so we all decided to go to the park. There was a park in walking distance, which had some play equipment and whatnot, as well as a soccer field. Of course, as well as playing on the regular equipment, swings, slides, rock climbing, etc. We also played tag nearby. It was actually quite fun, and I could tell from Olivia's smile and Ben's giggling that we were all sharing the happy feeling. Not far from where we were playing, there was a small area with some dirt trails for hikers and joggers to walk or run along, and thick trees and foliage, which you could describe as a mini forest on either side of them. Of course, we had no intention of going in, seeing as there was nothing to play in there, as well as the numerous reported sightings of foxes. We all decided to play soccer on a field that was adjacent to the playground with all the equipment. We spent about 2 hours having fun, playing soccer, and had many games that were 2-on-1. I'm happy to say, we all got our share of wins and losses, and we all had fun. But it took one of Ben's double whopper kicks to send the ball hurtling through the air and through the trees of the forest. Unfortunately, due to the forest's hilly geography, the ball rolled down and disappeared into the trees. Of course, this meant that I had to go fetch the ball, and despite my feelings, I bravely ventured in, and Ben and Olivia tread along for fun. But there was something about these woods that unsettled me. It was just the fact that the forest was dead quiet, despite being near some fairly popular sporting facilities. The contrast between the quiet forest and the playground and soccer field was uncanny. Not long before, the sight of jogging trails disappeared through the trees, and I began to get a little uncomfortable. Maybe it was the way the trees were twisting in odd, distorted patterns. Olivia began hugging my leg with fear, and Ben's face got the unmistakable look of being uncomfortable, and also huddled up closer to me for comfort. We had sighted the ball, and I quickly ran over to retrieve it. It was in a small ditch, but I managed to get it out with little effort. Ben and Olivia had already begun walking away, and I immediately followed along to make sure that they stayed out of trouble. But it wasn't until about 3 minutes later that I realized they had been walking the wrong way. Approaching the ditch and retrieving the ball had made me lose my sense of direction. I began pointing them in the right direction, but then Olivia said in her small voice, "Josh, I think I saw someone." I could tell from her voice that she was scared, and I just sighed lovingly. I told her that people often came through here for hiking, but Olivia said that he had a white face and a red nose, like a clown. Then, Ben randomly screamed at an ear-piercing volume, and I was beginning to get worried. Naturally, I decided that we would all leave immediately. As we began to walk out, a man dressed in a clown mask with striking red hair emerged from behind a tree. He had a cheap-looking black jacket on, accompanied by some tacky pants, accompanied by pale gloves. At this moment, we were paralyzed with fear, but when I snapped out of it, I snapped a photo of him for evidence. We didn't even need to tell each other to run. Our legs just made the move for us. We all sprinted like we were in the Olympics. I felt hopeless that we were in such a secluded area. After about a couple of minutes, the bounding of feet behind us had stopped, and we turned around and were greeted by a relieving absence of the clown. Olivia was crying at this point, and Ben just had a worried look on his face. After I calmed them both down, I told them that we would slowly sneak through the trees, and then all three of us would keep an eye out, and so we did. But about halfway back, We heard maniacal laughter behind us, and the clown was chasing us again. We all resumed our frantic dash, and when we finally reached the clearing, the clown had once again retreated back into the thick foliage. I told my dad the whole story and showed him the photo. We called the police, but by the time they got there, they said they had found no trace of a clown, except for one of the gloves we'd seen on him. But soon after, they made a terrifying discovery. Apparently, the clown abducted and killed children that wandered into the woods alone. He would then sneak out and steal some kids from the playground itself, before returning to the forest and killing them. The police had assumed this from the bones and corpses that they discovered. All the police had to say was that we were lucky not to become part of the clown's collection of children. That's it for tonight's story. But before we end things, your favorite scary story narrator, me, I hope, would like you to check out the Slaughterhouse Stories podcast. Available at all your favorite podcast sites. So download and subscribe. Be a listener, not a victim. And as always, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed tonight's story, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay spooky.